Hey ladies! Another drop with more context of how I use human design in my own relationship, okay? So here on the left is my chart, and here on the right is my partner's chart. We are both sacral people, meaning our sacral chart center is here. Okay, so we have altogether a lot of energy. But I have already dropped in the chat the information about like how generator and manifesting generator operates. So you know that he being a generator, he has a constant source of energy to do things, and he's like he could be very resourceful based on his also energy here. He has a lot of tribal energy, taking care of the family and providing. So that's in his chart. Me being manifesting generator, I have this a lot of creative energy and this kind of direction that I can also add into the dynamic and the conversation and the things that we do together. Excuse me. So yeah, and also what's very important for all manifesting generators is that one of the aspects of our, how we use energy the more effectively is we have to inform. It goes without question for manifestors, but also manifesting generator. Whenever we decide something, we have to inform. Because obviously it affects the other person. Okay, so I want to touch on a couple of more elements. I've already told you about our solar plexus and difference, how it, how it used to play out, and it still plays out to a degree in our relationship with more understanding right now. And also G. Yeah, I've already touched on that. But also I want to mention a few different elements. The one in the center, you will see how it's kind of like putting one chart on the other. It's like putting two pieces of paper with one chart onto another, and then you can see what's being colored in, what's being left out. In your case, obviously, I hope you know that it does not mean that if something's colored in or something's white that it's bad. Okay, it does not work like this. Wherever we have the colored in center means that we have consistent energy in that center. We can basically depend on the source of that energy that it gives us. Whenever we are white, we're receiving this from the environment and from the people around us. It might be conditioning, or it might be anything else that we just naturally open in those spheres. So when we look at, combining those two charts together, you can see that I have all the centers between us colored in. So that means that it's full of energy. And also, I'm gonna drop in the chat, in Telegram, a little bit of information about this connection team, because each relationship that you're gonna generate will have this connection team. And all it is basically counting the definition in the shapes, in the centers. As you can see, I have all 9 centers defined between me and him, 9-0. And this is like the keyword for this, nowhere to go. What that means, that obviously we have all the, powerful motors of energy and expression and division and everything defined, that sometimes it might feel that we are enough just to be by our own. Kind of like we don't need extended group of friends to hang out together with, because we already feel complete. So that might be the case in your situation as well if you have 9-0 as a connection team. What it might also mean is that you might kind of, I mentioned about the need to hanging out with other friends. That is not to say that, for example, if you go on your own and have your group of friends, and he can go on your own and have a group of friends, that's totally fine, because obviously we have white spots around, right? But like if we were to go out together, we innately, like on the energetic level, it's not necessary for us. It's not like we are seeking subconsciously to feel, I don't know, hear a different perspective or whatever. We complete each other. I'm sorry, I have to pause the recording because I have a bounce of coughing. Came out of nowhere. Anyway, what I will also mean is that because the energy can be intense, we need to have a time apart. Okay, so that may also lead to disagreement, or it's just the intensity of being together all the time. It's a lot. And I know that I require some time off. He knows that as well. Also, when you look at our profile, I know that I have not touched on this in this experience because the amount of knowledge is overwhelming and I don't want to do that. However, you might brush up on this information. Is widely available. The numbers that we have in a profile also matter because it's very likely that we will be in relationship with someone that it has either the same profile line, like number. I have 6'2" and he's 2'4", and so there's some commonalities between us that we both recognize. Number 2 is a hermit. It has a nature of hermit, or being natural in the gifts that we are given. We very often cannot name those gifts, or we don't see them, and we are being called out by somebody else from the out, like, from our circle, maybe not the closest circle, but someone will see those gifts in us. But what's very important is that we have to have this period of isolation when we are by ourselves with our thoughts, so we can think about what happened, came to conclusion, and so on and so on. So I'm like this, and he's also like this. It's not included on that chart, but we are both also, we prefer the environment that has the characteristics of caves. This is a bit more advanced bit, but actually it's very good that we both on the same page, meaning that we like similar styling in a house. Like we don't like this, sailing, for example, like having a center light source on the ceiling where everything is like, it's lining up a room. We prefer a bit more like a ground level, maybe behind the telly or something that's incorporating multiple levels, so that's it's just creating a cozy vibes. And obviously it's a plus, but it's not it's not a huge, but it helps. What helped me also to understand how I behave and how he behaves is that all those lines, the colored lines you see here, those are the kind of like a roads for energy that flows in our body. And as you can see here, mine are connected like in a straight line. His goes in different ways, right? He's more like the center here inside, like a spiral. And as I mentioned, he has very strong tribal energy. Me, on the other hand, I'm very individual. All those connected lines between centers, between the shapes, are all individual. In his case, those 3 are all tribal. And he has a 4th one coming from here. But as you can see, having also this energy circuits, we call it, makes difference when you come into relationship, because me being individual person, I'm empowering myself, and by empowering myself I empower others. I'm very individualistic in the approaches very often, and I see many things or situations through my own lenses first. Like if this situation benefits me or maybe it's against whatever I want. However, my partner, because he has very tribal energy, and that translates as taking care of the family, the closest circle, and making sure that they have the correct resources and survival and all that safety, very important needs are covered. That means that he's looking at things from a different angle. Also, having those completely different in our case, like he's very tribal, I'm very individual, like sorry, my throat is playing out today, with individual energy. Also tells me that, for example, he likes physical touch. The people with very prominent tribal energy like being touched and like when, all the massages and everything, like the physical closeness is very important for him. To me, it's not as much, because it comes purely from the chart. I like being vocal. I like to talk and explain and kind of like being heard. And it's all in the way how my energy plays out here. People who have a lot of individual energy, there are we call it like being acoustic, meaning being tuned into hearing. So I like to hear myself, and I like to, the conversation, but that's something that's important for me. And as you know, you probably have experienced and maybe digged into 5 love languages. They're completely different to what we, for example, can read from human design, right? Charts. And I love that this knowledge completes and complements the other approaches that we know from, feminine and masculine energy, the polarity theories that we hear a lot online right now. Love languages is one thing, but it's like it's giving you additional, very deep understanding of myself first, and then how he operates. And you have to know that I'm not trying to lecture my partner about like what's happening in his own body in terms of the energy flow and the patterns. And it might be very well that your partner is also not interested in hearing those things, and it's okay. We don't force those things. But what I've noticed from being 4 years in this experiment that I have with human design and getting to know myself, accept myself the way I am, not seeing anything as, for example, having a funky relationship with time, because I can be late, because I feel I can put so much into, 1 hour, and I feel like, oh my gosh, I can do so much, but in reality, obviously, it's less. So I sometimes overcommit, and sometimes I'm late, but I don't see this necessarily as something negative right now. I used to, but it's not. It's not the case right now. So I'm accepting myself much more. I learn how to value myself and how to feel worthy and safe within my own being. And human design has played a huge role in this. And then, with human design come also the ideas of like following our own strategy, because like every energy type has it a bit different. And by strategy here, what I mean is like how we make a decision, how we recognize that decision that's, we are presented with, and the outcomes, which one is for us, how we make those decisions. Because also let me tell you that the gut feeling is only applicable to around 70% of people. And it's not always the case, because if you have solar plexus defined, you will also experience emotional wave. So that, me being immersed in human design, and I'm not a fan of learning everything there is about this knowledge, because it's like, I believe maybe my whole life will not be enough to know all the nitty-gritty and elements that influence that. But for 4 years, I've been exploring this, and I believe that I know like really, really solid and good chunk of things that I know that influences me and obviously him, that I'm good. I know that is a huge thing for me to open up, have a mind to I kind of like understand what's going on. I'm shifting how I'm approaching things. I'm gonna drop a video that I posted on my social media yesterday, explaining the situation that happened over 2.5 years ago, where I've listened to my gut response. It was such a visceral response. I was like, I never had this before. And what happened later? Like how he has responded to this. But everything stems from honoring myself, like knowing in my whole being that what I'm feeling in my body is the correct way to do something. I don't like go on that trip, buy this, do whatever decision that you feel it's meant for you. And then by you following your path, it's like show me, not tell me. You know how it is, right? You are upgrading, you are shifting, and that shift will resonate with your partner as well. So, versus there are situations where, for example, I mentioned about like solar plexus, where I have explained him like, listen, you can be intense person when you are in the height of your emotional wave, but if you're gonna be like putting all the quote unquote faults of whatever was not right, and like if you're gonna put all of it on me at the same time, whatever that was stored in for the last couple of months, we're not gonna be able to resolve it because it's just too much for me. I did not explain it to him like, oh, because you have this and this and this in the chart, and it doesn't matter. I like to approach human design by seeing the practical applications of what's in there. And I really, believe that knowing this, so like I'm seeing myself, I'm giving myself all those things that I need in a partner. I'm following my own, gut feeling in the situations, and whatever life has in store for us. And he's seeing how my life is, what I'm doing, and by, knowing and telling him a little bit about like, please do this and this and this. And I know how he behaves, like, what, more or less his patterns are. Then he's also rising with me, And I really see this playing out in our relationship. And I'm so grateful that I found human design 4 years ago, because it has changed my life so much. So when you get to this 18 minutes, right, let me know what your chart is. Please drop it in the chat. And if you have any questions, if you want to ask me something about what's, any kind of pattern that's playing out in your relationship, and like, if you need advice about something, ask me. I'm here to answer. And I would really love to share the perspective with you too. Okay, thank you.